Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Descent into Madness podcast. We are actually episode 5 now. And I'm joined here with my stupid co-hosts, Chris and Michael.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's our names.
Yeah.
Now you have to figure out which one's which.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We totally haven't talked about it in a previous episode. You'll never know.
Pretty much every episode.
Yep.
The way Michael said, made me think of that fucking fish from SpongeBob with the marshmallow. Hey, can I borrow these?
Yep. Well, I mean, I'm thinking about cheese because, as you know, we have to start every week off with a fun cheese fact. And this week's cheese fact is about English cheddar, which, did you know, it's aged in caves?
Yeah, everybody who lives over there, too.
Because if I remember correctly, the reason they age it in caves, I almost said age it in cheese. The reason they age it in caves is because of the perfectly damp moisture in the area, which makes it perfect for growing mold on the rind.
So that's why a couple of people wanted to put cheese in my legs.
Well, that and they were trying to make, blue cheese because it stinks.
Uh-oh, Chris is disconnecting. I don't know if you can hear my other laptop of the disconnection noise. So, we didn't really have anything prepped for this week. No weird articles that you found or anything.
No, we didn't have any strange articles I've found. But there's still plenty we can talk about.
What? I mean, we're 2 weeks into fucking Witch Queen, so we can talk about Witch Queen. So I'm assuming you've watched the full raid breakdowns. I haven't seen anything about it.
There's a few parts that I haven't watched. I know I sent you a video this morning of they've already found a new strata on how to abuse Titan damage with melee, and they can pretty much one phase one of the bosses already.
Beautiful.
And of course, again, it's just building up all of these different buffs, so you end up with times 270 damage for a punch, and they can get him down to the final phase, which it locks him at. So it's basically they do the primary damage phase. There he goes.
Yeah, Mr. Shitternet.
But then they do that, and then they just kind of go to do the last phase. And honestly, because by then you already also have all of your heavy ammo, so you just waltz right through it. But I do have to say, from what I've seen of the raid, I really like the design of the final boss fight. Because, with every single raid we've had... welcome back, Chris, to the Descent into Madness podcast.
I've been here the whole time.
But as I was saying...
You can't prove it.
This boss fight, from what I've seen, and I've only seen glimpses of it, but instead of, your traditional kind of boss fight where we all stand in one spot and DPS the boss, this one actually looks like you have to walk around and dodge the boss as he comes around. And one of the attacks is he will full on just roundhouse kick you to death. And it's
nice.
It's absolutely amazing. I'm honestly super excited to try this raid out with you guys. I know how to get one of the first exotic raid or not exotic, but one of the first raid chests, which you can actually do solo. So I might play around with that today. But
I'm waiting for the full breakdown of Dado to come out,
Dado.
so I could know what I'm doing.
I don't know if Dado's guide will be very good. After all, he's world second.
He did it faster than you did it, so...
Well, it's because I haven't done it yet.
Concerned, second place is still a victory.
It is, yeah. It's always sad to see Dado.
But it's also the first to lose.
Yeah, it's Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, he's first at something.
Oh. Other than that, I haven't really looked too much into the raid. I think the first encounter might be a bit of a pain in the butt, just because it looks mostly communication based, and there's a few other communication parts, but it looks like you'll only need, 3 to 2 people max to communicate on those parts. So that might not be too difficult later on. But the first one requires the entire team, and good lord, are we bad at communicating?
Unless it's shoot here.
Yeah, shoot there. Put your Gallahorn on. Stop taking your Gallahorn off. Why do you have sweet business out? Those kind of things.
Oh, it's
There
also
it is.
like the what we were just talking about Saturday with the with Mr. Balarkey sitting there trying to go and fisticuffs the
That thought
motherfucking Templar and just got shot into a fucking all into the stratosphere.
think you cut out. I don't know if it was just for me or what, but
No, I was talking about Balarkey trying to melee
Yeah.
the Templar and got shot into the stratosphere.
yeah. That was kind of my bad because I just kind of told him the controls and didn't actually tell him what to do, other than grab this, stand here, and whenever it comes to time, do this.
That was so
And the
funny.
first we all got in this position and watched him just get flung off
Dude,
the
literally,
map.
I think I still have that on recording. I think I still have that whole session on recording of just sitting here and like as I was running away, because that was before we knew the Oracle wipe trick.
Mhm.
So as I was running away, you could see his name get shot in the air and then slowly start falling to the side. And just as he's just plummeting. Oh, dude, that was fucking awesome. So yeah, it'll be definitely interesting for us ragtag group of fucking idiots to get into the raid.
Yeah. I don't know. I was looking at some of the armor sets, and I gotta say, they don't look good. We haven't had a good looking armor set since, you know,
D1.
fucking D1. Like, genuinely good looking. Now, I will say, some of the armor sets from the Leviathan raid, the very first one in D2, did look pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Some of them didn't look bad, but you also had that perfect like gold, white, and purple shader to go with them. But we just haven't had a knock your socks off armor set, and I mean, I really wish that whoever was designing those armor sets for the raids in D1, they need to come back. Like, pay them 10 times their salary, like what it was. Just
I think they are here. I think
something.
the issue is that just it's the monetization difference between D1 and D2, where all the cool armor sets are all ornaments, paid ornaments, as opposed to
I
just
guess, yeah,
being
'cause-
part of the actual armor itself, because D1 didn't really have that.
yeah.
Had ornaments, but not like to the
I was
same
so
extent that we
used.
do now.
Yeah, because ornaments didn't really come out until Rise of Iron.
There was a
the final
few
DLC.
with Taken King, but it was basically just making all the year one guns that Taken King come out look like their year one counterparts. Because, like, I mean, with like Suros Regime, where, you know, in Taken King, it was that grayish gunmetal, and
Yeah.
the original was that pearly white, and so they had an ornament to swap it back to the pearly white. Now that was about the extent.
Yeah, and the original, and it's still in D2, the Vex Mythoclast one where they just turned it chrome.
Yeah, I think that's so dumb.
The
I
chrome.
hate that.
Look, it's a shader.
Chrome.
'Cause we also have the goofy shader system in D2, which it's just there aren't really any good shaders anymore. Because, I mean, back in D1, we had Revenant from Dead Orbit. We had Glowhoo. We had all of those good, beautiful shaders you know?
Some of them can be really nice in D2.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about,
But I mean, I think there's just
out.
like a major majority of some of them that are almost identical to each other, and they just don't look that good. But then there's like a handful of them that do look good.
Yeah. And sometimes I guess you do come across those shaders that like you just kind of put it on to see it as a joke, and you kind of like, oh, hey, that actually doesn't look too bad.
I found an interesting one. I don't remember what it's called, but it turned my Witch Queen robe, which I really like the design of the Witch Queen robe for the Warlock, into kind of like a glow. Not quite the same, but similar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the fuck the shader was called, but I mean, there's options in D2, and it's just the difference in game and the options that they present is interesting. Yeah, that's basically all I've been playing. I haven't been playing a whole lot of other games. I haven't been playing a whole lot of games, but when I do get on, it's just playing some Destiny and just doing random shit like Pinnacles.
Yeah, I haven't been getting on near as much as I'd like to, mostly on account of my work schedule right now.
You haven't been getting on as much as you'd like to? On Steam, it says you have 57 hours in the last 2 weeks.
Hey,
Good Lord.
look.
Well, think about it. 57 hours in the past 2 weeks is only what? A couple hours a day?
And you also have to remember,
Going from Michael's usual 10 hours of Destiny per day.
I was like, well, I was comparing it to mine. Like, I started Witch Queen at 186 hours, and I'm now at 198.
I also spent most of my weekend playing it, or when I wasn't doing something else.
I know. No, I thought it was just fucking funny. You're just sitting there. Just, oh, I'm not playing as much as I want to. And just looking at it, it's like, oh, he's just got, 52 hours in there, past more than a full work week.
Well, so how many hours do you have currently in Destiny 2 on your PC?
I can tell you the exact number in a moment, but I know it's 198 something.
Because
And I think you're at, like, last I checked, like 400 and something. Yeah, I'm at 198.2.
I still haven't beaten my record for hours by Warframe.
What are you at? Oh, I was totally wrong. 729.6 hours.
Yeah,
Is what you're at.
now.
I've played nothing but Elden Ring since it came out.
I haven't started it yet.
Game. It's a good-looking game.
See, okay, my willingness to not start it is not for just I'm not a huge fan of the Souls games and I'm scared of the difficulty. It's genuinely I have 3 different games I'm playing and I don't want to start another one that's that giant expansive open world just like Horizon Forbidden West. I want to get through a bit more of Horizon Forbidden West before.
Did you see? Speaking of Horizon Forbidden West, developers of that game, Battlefield 2042, were all bitching about Elden Ring being such a good release.
Dude, they're bitching about every game that comes out. That's just better than theirs.
Yeah, and I think because there hasn't been as much talking about Horizon Forbidden West since Elden Ring came out.
Well, I mean, also Horizon Forbidden West is PlayStation only, where Elden Ring's all.
Well, that too, but I think it's just been overshadowed by Elden Ring. And so the developers are getting whiny that Elden Ring's doing better.
Well, let's be honest, though.
I haven't heard anything about Guerrilla being upset that Elden Ring's doing better.
I just saw something on like a Twitter, so it was like one developer. It was just funny.
I know that they're kind of bitching because you remember my complaints about Horizon Forbidden West to you about how some of the voice acting is really drab and everything, that people are overall complaining about it, and that honestly I wasn't alone in thinking and feeling that there was a lot of improvements that could have been made to the first game that just wasn't. So it's they've been on the defense about that, and it was like this when the first one came out, where basically their defense, and actually not even really the developers themselves, just kind of like everyone else, their defense is in line of like, you just hate it because it's a strong female character. It was the exact same way for the first one, because the first one like had the same, valid criticisms of, the parkour system's cool, but it's very clunky and doesn't like to snap and will get you killed more times than not. The voice acting is meh at some points, and other times it's really awesome. And then the facial animations kind of sucked dick, and I haven't seen them on PS5. I'm sure they're a lot better on PS5 for Horizon Forbidden West than the PS4, but still, they're at best. I mean, even like God of War was, better than most next-gen games for facial animations, and God of War came out in 2016. So I'm not quite using the, but I have a PS4 excuse.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's been shown that it is possible.
Yeah, and that's just how this game in general always has been. But this one especially, like I was complaining to Chris, like the Monday after it came out, because I put in like almost 20 hours into the game over that weekend, because like I'm like level 30 and I'm not even a quarter through the campaign. Like I did all the side quests and stuff because that's what I did in the first one. I really liked the world itself. And so that's what I did a lot of the time, was just doing all the extra stuff and getting to know people. And I noticed that honestly, the voice acting is a huge turnoff, but it's weird because it's actually really good for almost everyone but Aloy. Like most people brought forth their freaking A game, except for the main character, because she constantly talks in this edgelord, emo, half-assed whispered voice to almost whomever who you're talking to. The only time I haven't heard her do that was when she was talking to the main actual character, Gaia. That's about the only time I haven't heard her do that. Otherwise, she's always talking like this. I can do that alone. I don't need you. I'll just do it alone. And it's just driving me fucking nuts.
So they went from, in the first game, a good, strong female character to the I'm a superpower woman.
Well, it went from the first game to where I'm a strong character that happens to be female to so far in the second one, and I'm barely a quarter into it, mind you. But so far, the way it's playing out, it went from the first game, I'm a strong character that happens to be female, to I'm a strong character because I'm female. Like, I love the first game to absolute death, and I don't mind this game, but so far, there's nothing really that's like jaw-dropping, this was a proper sequel. I mean, the story advances, yeah, and it actually is kind of jarring because the story takes place literally 3 days after the first one ends. So, I haven't beaten that first one since 2017. So there's a lot of things, and they don't really do anything to remind you. They just kind of expect you to know everything and keep up with the references. So it's a little jarring to where, like, they're talking to these two people, and she's so familiar with them, and I'm just sitting there trying to remember who the hell they are. And the game just kind of expects you to know. So if anyone that didn't play the first game is getting the second game, you're basically in it for purely the gameplay, which is meh at best, honestly. And, because you don't know the story. You have to know the whole beginning of the story to be able to even keep up. And it's pretty jarring. I like the game, but it definitely could have been done better. It's not a 10 out of 10. I would give it like a 7. Because there's definitely some things that they could have improved upon. Now we all stare at each other.
Yeah.
In silence.
I'm just like nodding. Like yeah. It's a good review of that game that I don't know.
I'll give you the illusion of choice. What kind of tea should I make this morning?
You have green tea?
I do. I have oolong.
Dude, I'd kill for some green tea. I love green tea.
I mostly drink oolong though when I feel sick or like I have a cold. I find that really helps.
It does. I mean, like, green tea is like a cleanser. And so that's why I just like it in general.
Speaking of cleansing, my intestines have never been cleaner
Whoa.
since this morning, dude.
Yeah, I'm glad it was that and not something else.
Yeah. I was waiting for the caveat.
Yeah.
No, it's my intestines.
Did you have to take good poo-poo? Good poo-poo?
I did, yeah. Beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more, digestive
Ferociously
beans come out of
shit.
you. Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing I didn't have a spoon on me because it looked like refried beans, but...
Oh. That is an awful image. Of just you sitting there above the toilet bowl with a fucking spoon. Rubbing it on a taco shell.
That's a cursed image.
Delicious.
Maybe I'm a rabbit. I'll just redigest it.
Dude, what is with...
Michael, if you ever eat your own shit, you can lose my number.
I don't have your number.
Forever.
I don't have your number.
I'm
Problem
not losing
solved.
anything. Sounds like a win-win situation to me.
Dude, so...
And then I just saw something that said, "I'm so glad this man is in therapy."
Are you going to give any context, or are you just going to leave it there?
No, I was just looking at something.
That makes zero fucking sense, right?
Oh, I know.
Okay, I guess you really are. You're just not going to give any context, so that all right. I guess we'll just move on. So, I have met someone that last night at Pathfinder that basically fits the description of the personality trait of that. God forbid they can not be not in the spotlight for more than 10 seconds. It was this girl, and like drives me nuts, and everyone's being super nice to her and everything because it's a female in a game store, and she definitely
took advantage of that.
I guess not really took advantage, but was definitely enjoying the limelight and thought that everybody and their mother really wanted her opinion on shit. Even though, like, the whole reason that they're all helping her and everything is because she has no idea what the fuck to do. So it was like, I remembered her from when I played back in 2017 of the same person that was super annoying, would always be in your face with whatever they wanted to do, and would sit there and constantly talk to you while the DM's talking about the most random fucking shit. Like talking about how she's going to be a substitute teacher, and now it is that she is a substitute teacher. It's all about that. And, I'm just like, what the fuck? Well, she played the same amount of time that I did back in 2017 and then quit and then just came back almost the exact same time. I think the bitch has been stalking me. So, and we were playing last night, and not only has everyone been helping her build her character by hand, I mean like blank character sheet and pencil building this character and with the core book. Then she doesn't pay attention and then does everything fucking wrong and then just sits there and complains and bitches about taking damage. So she was a level 1 with 7 HP. And this dude channeled negative energy for 6 damage. And we all took it. And then she started complaining and freaking out. What do I do? What do I do? All this stuff. And everyone's just like, you run away. We'll kill him and then come back and heal you. And plus she was a healer and just didn't heal herself. She's a fucking idiot. So, and we're going through all this stuff, and the whole time, like during combat, and storytelling. She's just constantly going on. She's like, oh man, I remember there was a shooting the other week and it was pretty crazy. And I just slowly turned and looked at her. I'm like, okay.
Damn, bitch,
That is
don't care.
crazy,
Didn't
and
ask.
you shut up and
For
pay
some
attention.
reason, I think honestly, it's something with my family, because this happens to all of us, of just, for some reason, we just must be super approachable and very easy to talk to and feel comfortable enough to talk to, because of she always talked to me. And we sat on clear opposite ends of the table. And like, I sat on the left end of the table and she sat on the right end of the table pretty much, and was still talking to me over the three other people that weren't around her. I'm doing the most involvement in the story and is still trying to talk to me. And then once we leave, she saw that my car was started because I have remote start. And she's like, oh, you got remote start? I'm like, yeah, it's a Durango. It's nice. And she started going on this whole fucking life story, how she had this 2017 Jetta and it didn't come with remote start, but she traded it in and didn't have to do anything with the finance lady because the finance lady is her ex's baby mama that she had to get a restraining order against. And I'm just sitting there literally
shit.
doing one of these things like it was like a fucking Mr. Bean movie, where I'm just sidestepping very slowly and closer towards my car, and closer and closer and closer and closer. And then finally I got to my car, and luckily the benefit of having an uber long fucking car is that it's pretty easy to escape behind. So I put my hand on the door handle, and that causes it to unlock, and the headlights illuminate. And I about shit my pants when I saw her fucking standing there in the headlights to tell me more bullshit about her fucking life. But I didn't listen. I just said, I'm leaving now. And I got in and closed the door and left.
It's better to see her in the headlights than the passenger seat.
I know, because like,
Or the
dude,
backup camera.
my fucking car is
smack me
really
instant.
generous with the key, to where we were walking around with me and my mom, and she got to the car before I did, and I was still about like a whole 5 feet away, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for these, these actual keys, that are, you don't physically use the actual key, you just have it in proxy. 5 feet's quite a bit. And she went all the way to the passenger side door. And the passenger side door, if you put your hand in it and it detects the key, it unlocks all the doors, whereas you do it for the driver door, it just unlocks the driver. And it unlocked everything before I even got near the car. And if it's close enough to detect to unlock the door, it's close enough to start. And for some reason, especially with my model year, like it's the same model year that, Michael, if you remember, Hammond drove his Challenger in the US when they went to the Salts. So you know how generous it can be with how far you can drive.
Yeah.
Before it's like, oh, yeah, I don't have the key.
Yeah. Where
Who parked my car out in the
parked
middle of the
in the
road?
middle of the street. I still thought it was funny that he got out and people were just honking at the car with no one in it.
Dude, that was so funny. But yeah, I mean, it's just sitting there. I was thinking about that last night. I'm like, how easily she could have gotten in? And
Where are we
then
going?
I, for real, was tensing up at the thought of me putting it in reverse and her face being in the
being
backup
on camera.
camera. Oh my God, dude. I was scared shitless. Luckily, she wasn't there. But I'm just sitting here and it's like, I mean, this is a game store of people that, these are the nerds. Like, these are the pretty, for the most part, pretty stereotypical people, the nerds, all of them are pretty much bigger guys. And, I don't think have seen much women in their time, even though for some reason most of them above the age of 30 all have multiple ex-wives, and that seems to be a constant joke amongst everyone else of making fun of each other's ex-wives.
That's weird.
And so they're just
Nice.
like, relishing over the fact that a woman is here. I'm like, oh, when I saw that there was a girl that was going to be signed up on the game, I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. Get some different perspective in here, rather than everyone just monkey. And then she showed up, and I instantly recognized her and her voice. And she's one of those people that thinks it's hilarious to be as edgy as possible, to the point where she is literally standing up, look over, see what's going on, and go, oh my fucking fuck. I'm like, yeah. When people start saying the F word just to say the F word because they think it's cool, it gets annoying as shit. It's like, makes me want to punch them.
See, with me, it's a part of my vocabulary.
Okay, yeah, it's a part of my vocabulary too. But like when you're sitting there, it's like, oh my fucking fuck, this is fucking insane. That's intentional.
Yeah, it's like one of those sixth graders that are like, hey, these words are pretty funny.
It's like you can tell the difference between people like me and you, that's words just part of their vocabulary, because we won't ever say it twice in the same sentence.
Well, see, the other thing too is I warn people that I have that vocabulary before I start talking, because like sometimes it'll slip out, and like I can't.
The word's not what I have the issue with.
Yeah.
It was the obvious inserting it to try to sound cooler that bugged the shit out of me.
What the fucking fuck? Are you fucking me?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was a really good session last night otherwise, but and there was all the other players there where we were all having a good time, and she basically got relegated to one guy there that is really, well, basically is the equivalent of Aaron, of just is very well versed in the core book, and can rattle off some of these basic rules for a new player off the top of their head. So that player basically got relegated to babysitting. And during this whole time, I mean, still in it, dude, I could tell even like our DM Tim was getting fed up with it, and I could tell, because I'm like, I understand as a fellow DM of how annoying. Luckily, you guys don't really do it, if at all, but I could definitely understand where and how that would be annoying, to the point where like he'd be like, roll perception. I'd roll, mine's just literally a +1, so that's easy enough math for me to rattle off really quick. And there was that we were finding this church, and we had to find a clue, and I rolled 17, rattled that off instantly. And he's like, okay, that passes. Start going on about, what I find this clue. And as he's in the middle of telling me the clue, and, I'm trying to write it down because it was a genuine puzzle we had to figure out. It was kind of neat. And so as I'm writing it down, all of a sudden you just hear, I got a 21. And we all just kind of stopped and turned.
What's not plus 10?
Would she pull out an abacus and add up like 50?
Well, it's like, because not only she got like this most off the fucking wall character sheet that I don't know where she found it from, but it has like the most non-traditional formatted. So all of her shit was everywhere. And she had to do all the addition on her own and all this stuff. And then instead of adding them all, because like Pathfinder on the sheets, for most of the sheets, will break down how you got your total number. So if something changes, like last night, there was this thing that was doing a spider swarm with the poison that was doing strength damage. So it ticked down your strength. So anything with a plus from your strength mod immediately got erased or changed to the new modifier. So that's kind of how it breaks it down. And instead of just like looking at the total number, she would sit there and re-add everything. And God forbid these kids that she substitutes for, thank God she's a substitute and not an actual fucking teacher. Because like she's a level 1 character. So the most, and especially for how she divvied up her stats, the most add she had was a +5 on anything. Was a +5 to animal handling because she was elvish. And that's just a racial feat.
Of all things, it has to be one of the most useless skills to have. Like, I don't think I've ever genuinely used animal handling outside of catching greased pigs as a dwarf in one of the campaigns I've played.
It's not horrible. I like to throw it in to my characters because I like having animal companions and such.
Yeah.
And like Clarky's character, like for Strahd, he probably has some dumped into it. Like, and he already was starting to use it, and like because he can talk to the animals, being a rogue, I think is what he is, or a druid.
Mhm.
You know, he can.
Yeah.
He can talk to the animals. So like
Isn't he
someone like him that
Ranger, part cleric, or something.
Yeah, he's some weird multi-class. I don't remember what exactly.
I think it is like a ranger druid.
I think so.
His horse impression was pretty on spot, though.
But someone like him that does some of that stuff. But with Pathfinder, there's also racial bonuses and racial traits to where being elvish, you just get a natural bonus to it. And in Pathfinder, it comes up a little bit, at least in the modules for society, comes up a little bit more in what you think. Whereas our group doesn't really use it for D&D. But Pathfinder Society, like, there's a couple of things where you can, like, unlock secret chests by, like, basically knowing. And you, like, roll animal handling. And it's not like, you just know how to magically ride the horse and, you convince it to move. It's like, okay, I know where to smack the horse on its ass to get it to start running as opposed to just pissing it off.
And just start punching the horse in the face until it moves.
Yeah.
Throwing haymakers.
Eventually it'll move. That's so fucking stupid. Just keep punching it until it moves.
Eventually it'll figure out where I want it to go.
Eventually it'll move or it'll die. So I spend a key point for fury of blows on the horse.
Then perish.
Well, so in one of the first campaign actually that I played, I was playing a gnome. You guys know this was Quapor, and he got swallowed by a frog. Well, I had on me a mace, and I bashed the entire skull of the frog in from the inside. And instead of doing the normal human thing and crawling out of it so I can join back in the fight, I instead rolled a nat 20 on survival to completely debone and skin the frog, and I made it into a suit. So, I have a history of killing animals in I'll say in D&D.
I was like, please specify D&D.
I was like, add an append to the bottom of this statement, please.
It's like we're going to be in a courtroom. So you signed off here that you stated in the Descent into Madness podcast that you like to kill animals, and then your neighbor's cat went missing.
Hey, at that point, we would force the courtroom to watch the podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, you better like and sub while you're there, Judge.
That's what I call free advertising.
It's not going to be really
And make
free.
sure, if you're rewatching this episode because it is involved in one of our court dates, make sure to drop a like while you're here.
And while you're at it, lawyer, do better.
Do better.
Do better.
Get me out of here.
It's cold, and they keep dropping the soap.
I was going to say, when you first started your whole spiel about the girl from your Pathfinder session, because you started it off with, I met someone. I thought you were going to tell us about like a new girlfriend you got. And if that was the route you were going to go, I had the joke prepared of which retirement home did you pick her up from? But obviously that kind of switched gears. So.
Hot grandmas in your area.
See, I don't even think you realize how funny of a joke that is for me, because like literally this Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to my grandma's retirement home to help her with her St. Patrick's Day celebration, to do a big potluck dinner and everything. And I'm pretty sure all those ladies, if I wanted to, I could slay some granny puss.
Statement back right now.
Well, hey, I mean, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. Just
You know
Tell
why
them
they
you're
call
I'm
me
gonna get
Bear,
that
right?
printed, and I'm gonna get that printed, put it on my wall. Slay some granny puss.
we're gonna get that on a T-shirt.
That'll
When
be
we
our
get
first merch. That'll be our
Yeah.
first T-shirt. Slay some granny
Slay some-
puss.
Welcome to the Descent
my
into
God.
Madness podcast, where we talk about slaying granny puss.
Well, you know why they call me Mr. Bear, right? Because I always get the gummies.
Ooh, damn. Whoa.
That took a minute, didn't it?
Yikes. Get the gummies.
There's you know what? Word of the week: rancid.
Your vibes, sir, are rancid.
Woo.
Oh, dude, that's like, and my whole family has been an ongoing joke about like that whole place, because when my grandma first moved in there, she moved in there about 10 years ago. So I was like 10, and we'd always convince Keaton, my little brother, that there was a pool on the roof where they go skinny dipping at night, and we convinced him of that for like 4 years. And we always, it's like, oh, you just want to go to grandma's house so you can get up to the pool. So, you know, skinny dip with some of the old ladies. And then they all started dropping like fucking flies. So,
Eesh. They put a little too much chlorine in the pool.
Damn it, Grandpa, you pissed in the pool again.
I didn't
Well,
piss that shit.
He couldn't bring his catheter in with him.
That dude, piss bags are fucking funny. Because my grandma has one, being paralyzed from the waist down. And so she can't, obviously doesn't have the same control over the muscles to clench her piss like normal people do. And there's been several times when we were younger.
You
where
guys
we were,
clench your piss?
What, do you just piss your pants? You just fill it up?
Carry on.
So I bought a catheter from Amazon. It's the best purchase I ever made.
I bought a thimble. It goes over the tip.
Well,
I hope you're not. I hope you're not sewing with it.
It's like a cork.
Okay. Okay. That's
Continue.
better than the thimble. A thimble implies sewing.
It's a plug just for the other end.
But because we used to do a lot with my grandma and everything. Like, for her being in a wheelchair, she did more than what most other people's grandmas would do with them. Like, we went to parks every freaking day during the summer. We ran our own park program, actually, and stuff like that, and go on hikes. But every now and then, if she wasn't paying attention, you'd just be walking, and and all of a sudden you hear, boom. You're like, the fuck was that? And then all of a sudden she is soaked in her, because her fucking piss bag exploded.
Aww.
Because they just keep filling and filling and filling. So you have to go empty it. And if you don't pay attention, they just implode. There's
warmed by the sun.
There's no safety mechanism whatsoever to stop a piss bag from exploding. And that is just hilarious to me.
That's so fucking sad.
Oh, it's hilarious. I mean, it's not like she was pissed about it. I mean, that was fucking hilarious.
Oh, she was pissed about it.
Ha ha. But fucking idiot.
It's like, luckily, and that's why I have a an outlooking perspective from a lot of people that find me really insensitive with some of this stuff, just because of who my grandma is. Because she would be more pissed at you for something like that happening and not laughing than if you were more and being like, oh my God, are you okay? She'd be like, leave me the fuck alone. It was hilarious. Like, before she got paralyzed, one of her stories she tells us, because she got paralyzed when I was really little. When her and my older brother were hiking, she had a trach in her throat because my grandma's in a freaking medical enigma to where there's definitely several times she should have been dead already. And so she has all these like medical issues. So she just has a normal trach because 9 times out of 10 she goes to the hospital, her throat closes because she's also allergic to almost every medicine that just helps people. So she just has a normal
She's
trach.
living purely to spite your entire family.
Pretty much. And so the trach has just a plug in it. So at any time, like when she's at the hospital, they can just open it up, their throat hole, stick it in. And
They do it with a nail and a hammer.
every now and then her actual trach, it has like a little plug on it. It'll come a bit loose or it'll just pop off. Like if she coughs or something, it'll just bling. And when that happens, all the air, because like basically your vocal cords send air through and the vocal cords move and compress the air from your lungs, and that's how you talk. So the trach supersedes that. So all of a sudden she starts talking like this. It's all the air's coming out. And so what she'll do is she sits there and she takes her finger and has to plug it. And one of her favorite stories is when they were hiking and her freaking trach popped and went like clambering down a freaking cliff. And she sat there and played Darth Vader with Tanner, my older brother, was up there with her finger and go, Tanner, I am your father. Just like that's my grandma with that situation and stuff like that, where most other people would sit there and flip shit and, oh my God, what are we going to do?
I would love to see her try and play a saxophone with it.
Oh, she's talked about trying to play an instrument with it.
Like a saxophone or a flute.
She did it with a harmonica once.
A tuba.
A tuba. The tuba.
Tuba.
I've met your grandmother.
Yeah, that's grandmother in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome.
No, it was the grandma was walking around because she's paralyzed from the waist down. Yeah, I could infer which one it was.
Hey, medical miracles happen.
Yeah. Why do you think I'm still here?
My other grandma, like, fucking loves you. Like, she brings you up all the time about
Your
the cheese
entire
guy.
family loves me. And they only know me as the cheese guy.
The cheese guy.
I see as an accomplishment.
Cheese man.
Well, how could they not? You sat there and came over to my little brother's graduation party and just sat there with everyone. You were like making rounds to them and talk to them about cheese for like an hour and a half. Then you would just find the next victim and talk to them about cheese.
I also brought them cheese.
Yeah, you did bring some cheese. It was good cheese.
Because I bought 3 pounds of Parmesan. I brought you half a pound and kept the other pound for myself.
I had to give the rest of that Parmesan you gave me to my mom because I couldn't eat it. I couldn't eat it fast enough.
Mm-hmm. It'll keep for a while. It's a dry cheese. It's not like it'll go bad anytime soon.
Yeah, but most of the meals that I would have it anyway, my mom makes. So I'm like, well, I'll just give it here so you guys can just have it, for whatever you want it. And then, I'm going to enjoy it when you guys inevitably invite me over. It's like, hey, we're having some sketty. Or some sketty.
Yeah.
Getter.
Scatter. And then there was that one game. I don't remember what the fuck the game was called. I'll have to ask my
Get a cheese.
Mulkey.
What was it, Mulkey?
Something like that.
But it was a combination of like bowling and like golf, where you had to like play where it lies and stuff like that. Where like basically the objective was, I think, what was it, 41
Mini
points? Michael?
Something like that, yeah.
It was like, so you had to get 41 points on the dot. And if you went over, you immediately got reset to half point. So you'd get reset to like 20 points.
It was 25 because
25, so that means it was like 50.
Yeah, because the whole plan was to just knock all of the pins over and everyone.
Yeah, to start, because that means you'd start with 25 anyway.
Yeah.
And like, so they'd all be set up in like a bowling pin configuration, and you just hurl this like plink at it. And I think it's technically called the Skittle. So that's because we were laughing at that, because it was called the Skittle. And on our front porch, there's this little hole on either side of the step that every now and then one of the motherfuckers would land into Because after you knocked them all over, wherever they rolled to, you had to stand them up exactly where they were, and that's where they were. And we sat there, and Michael needed, it was the one pointer.
One singular point.
We needed the 1 point, and the 1 pointer was in between the banister and the stairs in that little tiny hole. And Michael flawlessly, beautifully whipped the skittle in there, knocked over the one, and he all started celebrating, and then it flung out and knocked over a 10 and went back to 25 points.
I hit it.
Yeah.
I fucking hit it.
That was more successful than anyone else thought you were going to be. Oh, that was fucking
More successful than I thought I was going to be, but I hit it.
And then, of course, I was sitting there the whole time talking horrendous shit and then just being the worst player there.
Yeah, you and your dad suck. Absolute ass.
That's because my hand-eye coordination for distance isn't very well, and he just can't fucking
blind.
see. I'm not as blind as him. But, well, it was just... So our game was to talk shit, and we eventually won that game because we just slowly kept climbing up there while those guys, they kept doing all these awesome moves, but it just kept backfiring. And so then me and Dad sat there.
If I remember correctly, the only way you won was because the other person that was against you got disqualified because they missed too many times.
Yeah.
It was, so you guys
and Uncle Jay. It was you and Uncle Jay. You guys missed your third shot.
Yeah, and then you won by forfeit, which was even funnier.
Yep, and I took that victory with pride.
That is true. Yeah, you did.
A dub's a dub, man.
Exactly. And then, do you remember my little cousin sitting there running around with that collection of 3D printed swords and just fell and broke all of them?
Yes. I also remember that it took Clark and I about 20 seconds
to
break the lightsabers.
Wasn't even that long.
Because the first thing that Clark and I both did was whipped the lightsabers out and both tried to nut tap each other with them.
Yep, and they collided with each other. You guys met in the middle, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because it was like... I don't even know how you guys accidentally coordinated it, but you both just went for the exact same thing at the exact same time.
Yeah. Well, you also, if I remember from that day, you had one grandmother that I not only helped cheat at Jenga.
Yep, that was my mom's side.
But she also she brought me like 6 beers to open for her.
Yeah, she was pretty fucked up that day. That was the most we've ever seen her drink. That's the grandma that still talks about you all the time. Always brings you up because she laughs at the fact that she confused the shit out of you all the time because with my middle name being Michael, and that whole side of the family doesn't call me Kane. They call me Kane Michael.
Yeah.
Whereas my dad's side of the family just call me by my first name.
Yeah. Because it was even funnier to me because I would just hear him say Kane Michael, and I thought they were asking for both of us every single time. So I'd look over, and you were already moving.
Yeah, and it's funny too to them because you're not the first Michael I've been friends with, and that same issue has happened constantly. Michael Kalupa, one of my best friends from childhood and everything, and we would sit there and literally get they would call my name and then he would just show up too and just happen to be there. That was interesting.
Yeah. And then there was Clark and I just slaughtering each other in cornhole.
I can't believe how much you guys played that for how hot it was, and that was just baking in the sun.
That's because if Clark and I are together at any outdoor event and we see cornhole, we immediately gravitate towards it. We talk major shit, and then after, I almost always lose the first one, and then it's just a back and forth of us slaughtering each other.
I
Like,
suck dick no matter what.
We will intentionally slide each other's off the board just to like
Spite
do it.
the other.
Yeah. Once you get to that max one, if they whiff their shots, you just keep tossing your bags off to the side. It's
Do you
Uno and
guys ever
cornhole.
played like Win by 2?
No, we just play. We just have fun.
Every now and then, my cousins and uncle like to play Win by 2 or Win by exact or however fuck you say it. Whereas if you go over by any slight amount, immediately reset to 11 points.
Oh yeah, that is how we play. It's just a general rule though.
I don't know the professional rules of cornhole enough.
You should. You're from Iowa.
You should.
We literally have cornhole championship leagues, and it's literally just a bunch of drunk white men in their
It's called the
middle age.
ACL.
Yeah.
It's my dad is obsessed with it. He watches it all the time and tortures my little brother with it. He'll sit
The
there and send him
Alcoholic
links
Cornhole
and
League.
like, and he's like, "Hey, did you see this on the ACL?" It just knows all the guys' names and everything. It's freaking hilarious. But yeah, it's a pretty serious sport. I mean, those guys are fucking insane though. Like I watched one and it's like literally bucket after bucket after bucket. Like they
Bucket.
don't miss.
It's like the professional bowlers.
Yeah, I'm like,
They play like 300 games regularly.
to me, it's almost boring watching that. Like to just watch
Sometimes
the,
it is.
you know, there's that intense of like, oh fuck, what's he gonna get? Isn't there? When it's just constant max points, max points, max points, max points.
Right.
Yeah, you just kind of
It's
wait for one of them to
bucket.
fuck up, and then you're like, "Oh, he fucked up," and then you know he loses because
Yeah,
he
because
fucked
literally
up
I was
one.
watching some ACL, and it was, I don't think there was a score on the board until like the 10th round. Because literally, guy would get it in the hole, other guy would get it in the hole. They just sat there and kept canceling each other constantly. And the whole reason that the guy even scored was because he slightly miscalculated, and the bag did one of those things where it's like sits there right kind of on top of the hole but doesn't go in. And his opponent threw his bag and it skipped over his bag and missed. So he got 1 point. After like 30 minutes of the game, 1 point was scored.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, this shit's got to take fucking forever. I stopped watching at that point. Like, can you imagine going there? That's got to be like
This
7
tournament's
hour
gotta take
fucking
fucking
games.
years.
Yeah, it's like 7 hour fucking games because you just sit there and eventually one guy will score 1 point.
for the last 3 years.
That's why you should just make it a rule to where if your name is Kane, you just win. I'm in favor.
Sure.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
What a great
But we're gonna specify the spelling. It has to have a silent Y and also a silent Z.
I'll change my name.
Yeah, you do that.
Joke's on you. My full name is Megatron.
Okay.
All right. Well, we've hit an hour, and I think we're kind of stagnating at this point, so we won't torture
Stagnating.
we won't torture anyone that's still listening at this point.
If they are listening, I don't know why you
Cornhole.
would.
Cornhole.
We went from talking about something to talking about
Cornhole.
something else. I forgot.
Yeah, you pretty much summed up how a podcast works.
Yeah, that's pretty much right on the dot. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed. Please leave a like, comment if you so please, subscribe.
And
We
support
release
the
every
cheese
Wednesday.
industry.
And yeah, support cheese industry.
Support the cheese industry.